Hello everyone, this is TechBizmo and welcome back once again to another video. In this video, I will be basically telling you guys the pros and cons of my XPS 12 and the pros and the cons of my Dell Latitude E6430. Did I just say 6430? But I meant to say 6430. Anyways guys, let's go ahead and get started. So I have made a document. It is called Pros and Cons XPS 12 versus Latitude E6430, and as you guys can tell by the title of this video, it is named Pros and Cons Latitude versus XPS. Now we're going to go ahead and fix that because you could see that little space was making me mad. But anyways guys, I think we are ready to roll. I think we are ready to list the reasons. Well, not the reasons, but the pros and cons of the Latitude and the pros and cons of the Dell XPS. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get started with that. So we're going to start off with the pros of the Dell Latitude E6430. So the first pro is that the body is made of a magnesium alloy and it feels very, very premium. Now, this is true, guys. The whole actual body of the Dell Latitude E6430 is made completely of magnesium alloy. Feels extremely strong, extremely, metallic, and, feels like it feels extremely durable, that's basically just the point I'm trying to get across. It feels extremely durable, and I just love the feeling of it. So, yeah. The next pro of the Latitude is the CPU is clocked at 2.9 gigahertz with turbo boost, of 3.6 gigahertz. The keyboard on the Dell Latitude E6430 has very nice key travel, and it has just a very nice keyboard in general. The specific keyboard it has a backlit, and it's a nice chiclet style keyboard. It feels a little bit older, kind of like the older style laptop keyboards, but it's just right for me. So the next pro of the Latitude is the docking station support. So yes, the stuffs have docking station support, which I will explain to you guys that the XPS 12 also has docking station support. However, the XPS 12 actually needs a different style docking station. I believe it's a lot more expensive than the Latitude docking stations, and it's not compatible with the older laptops and stuff. That's why I like the Latitude better. That's one of the reasons, because of the docking station. It just makes your life a little bit easier when if you're that kind of multitasking person that likes to just throw their laptop in a docking station and have it hooked up to a monitor and peripherals. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the cons of the Latitude E6430. The first con I have is the webcam is not included in my model. So this will actually vary on which XPS, which Dell Latitude E6430 you have. Display resolution is only 1366 by 768. This will actually bother certain people, but honestly, that is fine for my needs. I honestly don't want anything, crazy or, things that'll hurt my eyes, that'll be too small. This is just right for me, to be honest. So, as you guys can see, honestly fine for my needs, though. Very thick, heavy, and not as portable. Let me go ahead and zoom in. I apologize for that. I meant to zoom in when we started this video, but yeah. There you go, if you guys couldn't read it. Here you go. You can go ahead and read that now. We'll zoom in just a little bit more. But yeah, okay, so yeah, the webcam not included, display resolution only 1366 by 768. As I said, very thick, heavy, and not as portable as the Dell XPS 12. As I said, this will also probably bother certain people. This doesn't bother me that much. It is very thick and heavy, but it's not, it's not as portable as the XPS 12. It can be a little bit annoying, the size of this laptop, but to be honest, my opinion about the size is kind of neutral. I don't really mind the size, I'm not a fan of it, but I'm also not against it. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the pros of the XPS. And as you see, I have a big list of pros and cons. Actually mostly for the XPS, because the XPS does have a lot of pros and it does have a lot of cons. They both really do have their pros and cons. They both have, things that are better than one another. Anyways, yeah, the first pro of the XPS 12 is that it has a 1920 by 1080 resolution display. It is equipped with 4th generation Intel integrated graphics, aka Intel HD 4400. It comes with a 256 gigabyte SSD. This will actually depend on, your model. It'll vary. Mine originally came with a 256 gigabyte SSD. But my dad actually upgraded it to a 512, gigabyte SSD when he owned this laptop. Which, by the way, I don't own this laptop. I don't own the XPS 12, which I'll get my point across and let you guys know, that I don't own it in just a minute. But anyways, yep, it did come with a 256 gigabyte SSD, but then we upgraded it with a 512 gig SSD, and sadly that SSD died, so I just had to throw the 256 gig SSD back in it and, run something like a 80 gigabyte SSD off of my Latitude. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and add a con for my Latitude is on mine. We'll go ahead and put only 80 gigabytes, only 80 gigabytes storage. SSD, we'll go ahead and do that. So yeah, by the way, my Latitude E6430 only has 8 gigabytes of storage, 8 gigabytes of SSD storage, so that's one of the cons of the Dell Latitude E6430. As I said, it originally had the 256 gigabyte SSD because, I upgraded my dad upgraded the XPS 12 and he gave me the old 256 gig SSD, but the 512 gig SSD died while it was inside the Dell XPS, so we had to, take it out and put it in the Dell XPS, and my only choices were a 5,400 RPM 1 terabyte hard drive or a super fast 80 gigabyte SSD, which I'm fine with the only 80 gigabytes to be honest. Well, for now anyway, because I've got that external storage, external hard drive, all that sort of stuff, all that cool stuff. Anyways, the next pro of the XPS 12 is that it has a touchscreen with convertible tablet mode. This can be very useful. It can also depend on your operating system or your Linux distribution because, stuff like the Plasma Desktop works extremely well with the touchscreen, and something like GNOME works extremely well with the touchscreen. Full-on Linux and Windows support. This is actually, it's still, the Dell Latitude E6430 also has full-on Linux and Windows support, but I thought I'd just go ahead and include that in the XPS 12s. It has a HD webcam included. Now let's go ahead and talk about the cons of the XPS 12. Only 8 gigabytes of RAM and it is not upgradable. It is sadly soldered into the motherboard. Fan is extremely loud and whiny. Keyboard has very little key travel. Basically, that's just my opinion, of course. I mean, all of these things are probably my opinion, to be honest, but yep, that's just my opinion about the keyboard. Screen is too small for the 1920 by 1080 resolution, for Linux anyway, because for Windows it actually is a decent size and looks extremely good, especially on that 1920 by 1080 screen. Windows looks really good, really crisp. It has an i7 CPU. The i7 CPU, though, is only clocked at 1.8 gigahertz with a turbo of 3 gigahertz. Honestly, though, not a big deal. I don't have a big issue with only having 1.8 gigahertz as the base processor frequency. Docking station supported, but not with Latitude docking stations, so, I have to buy that more expensive docking station that's just meant for that model. I do not own the XPS 12, so this is what I was talking about earlier. Yep, this is the main reason I do not use the XPS 12. I do not own it. I actually just found this out, just yesterday actually. I was going to be switching over to the XPS 12, but I realized that I sadly do not own the Dell XPS 12. My dad's work still owns it, so yeah, there's just something to let you guys know. I'm allowed to do anything software-wise to it, but sadly not anything hardware-wise. Well, not really sadly, because, what am I going to do in there? Everything's soldered in anyway. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it. That is just my my opinions about the Dell Latitude E6430 and my opinions about the Dell XPS 12. As I said, guys, it has come towards the end of this video now. Thank you guys very much for watching, and yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below.